to see our trailer, we put it up on YouTube so everybody can kind of get an idea of what we've been doing. So if you just go to YouTube and put in Wolfpack Entertainment Infinity System, you'll be able to watch the trailer. It's 1 minute, so you can get just like an idea of kind of like the quality and what we're doing. Be up there. Yes, there's not anything going to be up there. So if you want to check it out. And then, so if you go to YouTube and then type in Wolfpack Entertainment and then Infinity System, that's the name of our pilot. You should be able to see a trailer. It's 1 minute. I think it's actually like 1 minute and 1 second. You can take a look. Just can I get an idea of what we've been doing?
So do you want us all watching that now?
Yeah, if you want to take a look, again, no peer pressure. You don't have to. You can just take our word that we're not like filming this on our phones in our backyard. Not that there's anything wrong with that.
Well, let's just say we've been told that people are pleasantly surprised that it is not a homemade movie.
Yes, we get this a lot. Oh, this is actually pretty good. I'm like, what did you expect? What do you think we're doing? Yes, sir. It's if you go to YouTube and then type in Wolfpack Entertainment and then Infinity System, you should be able to see it. Again, it's only a trailer, so it's 1 minute long. You can get an idea of kind of the quality and what we've been working with. Or maybe make a new friend next to you, and you can look at their phone. If people want to share.
Should we just thank them for being here?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so I'm Jynafer Yanez, and this is Jonathan Yanez, and this is like our fourth 20Books conference.
Ever since they started,
Yeah, so we are happy to be back again and to be talking about something that I think everybody as authors has been excited to learn and know more about, and that is how do I get my stories to film? Or my story, my book is definitely made for a movie. And so in the past couple of years, we've been working toward making that goal a reality for us. So while we're not here to like take submissions or anything like that, we're not here to tell you this is the way, because as anyone who's published a book or had success with that knows, there is no one way up that mountain. We just wanted to come and share what we've found, what we're finding, and to give you some encouragement and just shed a little bit of light in that realm.
Right, and then two, we want to make sure we are answering the questions that you have instead of us just talking up here for maybe 40 minutes about things that nobody cares about. So if you want, there's a microphone right there in the middle. If you have questions as we're talking, please feel free to get up and stand by the microphone, and then we'll know you have a question and we can speak directly to that instead of kind of guessing what you guys want to hear.
So Infinity System is what we have first created or produced, and that is an original IP, meaning it did not come from one of Jonathan's 50 or so books. So we created this idea, what there was a need, what would we want to watch would be the most appealing. We teamed up with the director to write the script, and then from there, from the time Jonathan and the director first met each other to the time our film screened, which is like the first actual debut of it, was just under a year. So like indie authors, we became indie filmmakers and we moved fast. And like the indie authors at this conference, we approached it from a very professional standpoint. So in that regard, we went and found a cinematographer who has proven work and let him build out his team and all the support that goes into it. We went ahead and applied for SAG-AFTRA signatory status, meaning that we could work with union performers, and rented camera equipment and hired special effects from some of the same pools that the blockbuster movies and studios would have, because we wanted to have that same professional final product.
Right, so if any of this doesn't make sense, again, feel free to go over to the microphone. We'll see if you have any questions. But like SAG stands for the Screen Actors Guild. So that was a lot of paperwork that I did not do. Jen went ahead and took care of that, to go through and make sure that we were certified with SAG as we shot this. And then I think we should just take it from the very beginning. So the very beginning is you write a script, you have an idea, and you sit down and you write a script. So that's what we did. And then from the script, you're able to see how much of a budget you're going to need. So you can start breaking it down from like, okay, how many actors am I going to need to hire? How many different locations am I writing in the script? How many different like hair and makeup professionals do I need on set? And let me tell you, I have so much more respect for hair and makeup than ever before, because a lot of the actors, they'll get their hair and makeup done, but then they just get to go hang out until it's their time to be on the camera, where hair and makeup is like non-stop working on the actors and the extras. And if there's nobody in their trailer getting set up, then they're there on set with us to see if, like, in between like fight scenes, somebody needs to get like readjusted or something like that. So they were always on their feet. The hair and makeup actually got paid more than the actors. And I was happy giving them every single penny because they were on their feet like 12-hour days nonstop, where the actors, get to sit down and hang out in between scenes.
Yeah. So a lot of people will ask, like, oh, is it hard to write a script from an existing book or a story? Or a lot of us know of books that have been adapted into screenplays. It is a different writing muscle, but you don't need to have special writing software. So people think like, oh, I need to have all the right tools in place. You can use the same programs that you're using, is something even as basic as Microsoft Word, to start drafting your script if you know the format. And one of the key things is the right font. It's called a monospace font, or Courier New, I think is the most popular one, because when we look at film in terms of production and length, it's based on page count. So let's talk about like how many pages equals minutes and all that stuff.
Right, so roughly when you're writing a script, each page of script that you would write equals 1 minute of film time that you actually watch. And a lot of people, I'm not trying to encourage hate speech, so let's not get in any arguments, but there's a lot of people argue like, oh, I use this software to write scripts. Oh, I use this software. Now as we get to know some more of the screenwriters, I'm like, just write on Microsoft Word. Microsoft Word has a format where you can go ahead and write a script. So that's what I use. But I think during the process of learning and understanding the different script writing software, it's like, don't put too much pressure on yourself. And I always learn the best by examples. So there's tons of scripts you could read for free of movies that you know online to get an idea. So I was reading everything from like The Princess Bride to Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. All Quentin Tarantino scripts are online for free just to read. So I just taught myself by reading the scripts how to do it. So I would encourage you too, if you're not sure how to write a script, all that information is free. If you want to take a few days just to go ahead and read what some of the greats have done before us.
And then in terms of, he talked about budget, so we're talking from exactly the indie do-it-yourself. So if anyone's asking, well, how do I pitch this in? We'll get to that a little bit later, because there are many different ways to do it, and there are very unicorn moments when Hollywood might ask you for your content, come to you, but like, I don't think anybody here waited for a publisher to come to them, so we're not going to wait for Hollywood to come to us.
Yeah, that was a good example too. Like, what kind of kicked us off on this path of doing our own film is I would see authors and their fans telling the authors like, oh, your book would make a great TV show or a great movie. And then the author would kind of laugh it off and be like, oh, well, if Hollywood comes knocking. And it was almost like a joke. And I'm like, it doesn't have to be a joke. Like, you could do this. Like, you didn't wait for anybody's permission to write your book. Why would you wait for somebody's permission to tell you you're good enough for you to create like a TV show or a film, even like a short? And that's what we started with. We just started with our pilot. Our pilot episode's 33 minutes long, because the money that we were able to raise wasn't enough to do, an hour-and-a-half feature-length film good, but we could do 33 minutes well with the money that we were able to raise. So I would encourage you that even though film seems like a lofty goal, like, you can get there too. You don't have to wait for anybody to come and tell you that they're good enough. It's within your reach, especially now with all the different resources that we have. As if y'all remember when audiobooks came out, so audiobooks were like this really cool and lofty thing, and everybody was trying to figure it out. And think about audiobooks today. It's very reasonable, and it's getting easier and easier for you to do your own audiobook, or to hire somebody that might not be very expensive to read your book for you. So I think film is going to go the same way. Like before, 20 years ago, I don't know if we would be able to have the opportunities that we are today with film, but it's getting easier and easier for you to do your own film. And let me tell you, when you start shooting something, if you have something to show, it opens so many doors. We'll tell you some stories of like who we're talking now, but I think you all know people who talk about doing something and then people who actually do something. So if people talk about doing something, it's a very different conversation than somebody that actually shows you, hey, I already did this. And that kind of puts you in a different category. So I would encourage you, even if you don't have the resources to do 33 minutes, they were telling us, we were talking to the head of Sony, and then who was on the panel with him? It was a girl in finance. And a financier.
Yeah.
It was the head of Sony and financier. And he was even saying, he's like, even getting snippets of pre-existing work, so pre-existing movies, and putting them together to portray an idea of what yours would be like.
That's called spec. It's a spec trailer, and it is not public. It's only for pitches. Just to be sure, you could get in trouble if you went public with the.
Well, if you said it was yours.
Yeah, if you said it was yours, or if you were sharing that as like a sales advertising thing, but you could use it as a pitch to studios or financiers or investors.
This is the part where we do the disclaimer that we are not lawyers. We're just giving you advice from what we've seen. So again, what Jen was saying, yeah, not that you would create this to put up online yourself and say you did it, but to put together maybe like a little reel that's a few minutes from pre-existing movies, and then showing somebody like, hey, this is what I imagined for my story.
Yeah, so then you write your script, and then you go through the script to figure out your budget. So you go scene by scene, and you will look at what's involved. Okay, if this is how many minutes of actual end film, then it's probably about 3 minutes or more to shoot each of those minutes. So you think about like how many days can I film this? So I'm going to need that many days for my team. And I also would say at a certain point you want to team up with either someone who's a producer or who has produced their own thing, and it's not like they're only one thing. Like a cinematographer might have his camera, but he's also done production, or she, or a director, because they all have that mindset or that ability to know how to break down the scene to get you a budget. And then once you've got your budget, and there are tons of sample budgets online, then what you do with that is then you can get an idea of how much money you need to create this, add another 10 to 20% for your contingency, and then from there you can go ahead and start figuring out, like, how am I going to fund this? And start pulling all of these resources. So I'm going to stop there and see what questions we have before we transition into the next phase.
Yes. Yeah, please, anybody ask questions so we can answer the questions that you have as opposed to just going on.
Are you talking about science fiction type film with a lot of animation, or are you talking about just...
This process would go to anything.
Yeah, also.
What are you doing?
Yes. Oh, shoot. We didn't even explain that. Sorry. He writes science fiction and fantasy, and the film that we made was a neo-Western sci-fi thriller. So it kind of has the Western bit. It is neo-Western because it's in the future, and it is has science fiction because it's in space, and it's a thriller because there's a plot twist, a crazy plot twist.
Kind of like Westworld meets Mandalorian.
Oh, yeah.
That.
You said you had to be part of SGA. Did you also have to be part of WGA as a screenwriter?
None of that. We
SAG.
applied for SAG after.
I'm sorry.
SAG. Yeah, so we ourselves don't have to be a union or union members, but your project can apply. It's called signatory status. So basically, you're granted the ability to work with union members.
And you approached everything as a production company.
Correct.
And not necessarily, but even when you wrote the script, you didn't have to be WGA, did you?
No.
Okay.
No.
All right.
That's correct.
And you can make a project without being SAG. SAG is just kind of like a standard, or kind of gives you like a stamp of approval that this is a SAG project. So that's what we decided to do. Yes?
Are you going to address specifics of budget, like how much?
Sure.
Oh,
yeah.
we can. Sure, we can get into some more details. So in a budget, these are just some terminologies that I think might be helpful. And there's above the line, below the line, and post-production. And so above the line is going to be the people you see in the first minute and a half or so of a movie. So that's going to be your director, the screenwriter, or the story by, your lead star performer, if you happen to have one, and your producer. There's executive producers, but you're not paying them, they're paying you. So So those are the above the line costs. And then there's below the line, which is going to be your camera folks. Like, it is crazy the amount of people that you will need to support this. You have way more people behind the camera than you're going to have in front of the camera. I would say that would apply even to some like mega casts, like the fight scenes in Braveheart, because for every person that was on camera, you had to have someone to outfit them and to style them and to support them. So the below the line is going to be your production team, your art department, camera, any set stuff, electrical, special effects, set dressing, props, wardrobe, hair and makeup, sound. You have to have sound that's recorded there. Then you have to have it mixed afterwards. Transportation, any costs for location. Oh, guys, sorry.
Fire alarm?
I guess we should exit.
So do we need to exit? I think so.
Yeah,
right?
it would be
That's probably what we should do.
smart. Okay, to be continued.
Create these stories because they want the stories just like you do, but they don't know how to create them. So we kind of reached out to some people in the industry. Somebody was saying that Shane Silvers, he's another author. He's on our poster. He was one of the executive producers, so he helped fund this project. So, and again, please, after we're done, there's posters and stickers and everything. We brought them for you, so please come up and take some. Again, any questions that you might have, let us know. So again, funding's a big one. Kickstarter, other people reached out to, other authors. I feel especially in the author community, like who doesn't want to see their work on screen? I don't know any author who does not want to see their work on screen. So I almost feel like if we can support one another, this might be a new wave, just like audio was back in the day, right? Before, authors weren't doing their own audio, and now it seems like many are doing their own audio. I think this is the tip of the spear for film, where now authors are starting to do their own audio. Do you have a question?
Yeah, I just had a quick question as to, you said you teamed up with a director. So I was just curious as to where you went in order to find that person, if you had someone in mind, or if you just sort of like browsed, or how that worked.
It was through personal friend connection. We live in Southern California, so like you can find a few of them every time you throw a rock. So, but what I would recommend is there are many like YouTube shorts. There are all kinds of indie films. You could look and see who's created some of the stuff that you like. Also on Instagram, they're promoting your stuff. So you want to work with someone who is able to achieve the look that is right for your story. So that would be some things. And then of course there are many databases, but depends, you know, as you begin, right, you want to kind of to grow through that, and you may not go straight for like a Ridley Scott, but you might work for like a person who doesn't have like that big notoriety, but they've done a lot of really good work to start, because they are going to be just as hungry at promoting the work as you are and getting it picked up. And getting it seen. The other thing is if you have a cinematographer or director with experience, like they all work together and they know each other and they know a guy and they know a gal. And so your person behind the camera will know everybody that's going to support the camera side. And because you're going to want to work with people they can trust and know to do a good job, to be willing to do the heavy lifting, to have like the morale on set, so important, and they're really long physical days to be on set if anyone's thinking about getting into the production side.
And a good director wants to create. They want to work. So if you can find a good director probably passionate about making films, that's how we found our director. Like they want to work. Another good way to find them is film festivals. Mm-hmm. So we just started entering our pilot into some film festivals, and we met tons and tons of different filmmakers and directors. And again, all these people want to work because creating either a short or a movie takes an army, it takes a team of people. So everybody's kind of looking to partner up and looking to work on a next project and excited about it.
Yeah. So any more questions on that? No. Okay.
Yeah, so we went over the script, we went over funding. So there's 4 phases of making a film. Development is just the idea, as you're putting together the idea of what you want to create. Pre-production is what we're talking about now. Pre-production is script writing, getting the money involved, getting your team involved. And then the next step was actual production. So production is when your boots on the ground and things are happening. And I feel like as authors, not everything goes to plan. So this has kind of set us up for filming our pilot. While we were there filming, nothing went to plan. Like every single day, there were things and issues that came up, and you just have to adapt and you have to overcome. And a sick little part of me likes that. I kind of like that energy, like, I don't know what's going to happen today, but we're going to figure it out. It's kind of like being an indie author. Like, you're going to figure it out, right? Whatever obstacles that you come across, you will adapt and you will overcome. You'll find a way. So a good example of that is we were going to have 3 hair and makeup people on set for us. Day 1.
In the middle of Yucca Valley in Joshua Tree National Park. So it's not like we were in LA or any major city, town area.
Right, there's an old ghost town out there that we decided to film at. So we're there filming, 3 hair and makeup come, 1 of them tests positive for COVID. Day one in the morning, like our actors are ready to go, everybody needs hair and makeup so we can get them on screen. So she obviously can't be there. And then the hair and makeup stylist who drove with her tested negative, but she didn't feel comfortable being on set.
She was exposed as a producer there. I had to also excuse her.
Yeah, so we went from 3 hair and makeup to 1, day 1, and we're like, well, the train has left the station. Like, can't stop. Stopping is not an option. We got to go. So we had one of the women who stayed, so thankful for, and she was just working overtime to try to help us out. And then Jen was there too, like as an assistant to her, to see what she could do to help out. But things like that will happen, so you can just expect that the best plan never lives past contact. Right? As soon as something that happens is going to go wrong, but you will adapt and overcome. One of my favorite sayings, it's a new one, don't give me any credit because I did not make this up, but it's a bird lands on a branch and it doesn't have faith that the branch won't break, but the bird has faith that it will fly. So don't have, faith that things that you come across are just going to work out perfect. Have faith in yourself that you will figure out a way.
So after production, all your filming, you have your team there collecting all of the video and storing it and protecting it ongoing, right? Because it's data, you don't want that data lost. And then after all that is done, then you go into post-production. And that's where the editing is. And the director will, so depending on their relationship, so either the editor will know what the goal is, or the director will sit and go through each shot, each scene, and pick it all out and start to piece it all together. So for us, I don't know, pantser versus plotter. So it's almost like someone who's plotted out their story, but it's not in any actual order, and then picking out the best ways that they've executed that plot and then putting it in order. And then there's the technical aspects of making sure people aren't awkwardly jumping across the screen, things are balanced, and pulling all of that together. And then from there, after you've got like 95% of the way done to 100% of the way done with that, then all the audio is a separate file. So you have the boom mic, right, recording everything. So you have the sound mixer who's going to lay out the audio, match it all up perfectly, and take out any noises that aren't supposed to be there, and add any sound effects. And it's not just the crash, boom, bang, it's the ambient sounds. It's the breathing, it's the footsteps, it's the sheets rustling, it's the clothing, it's whatever it is that's supposed to be and not supposed to be making sound, because at no point is there actual silence unless you're using that as a tool, right? And that's a whole different thing. But like even in everyday life, there's always some undercurrent of ambient sound. And then you can start to get a score, your music put together or written, and then it'll go into a colorist, which is a thing we're like, oh, right, a colorist, just like your Photoshop person is going to adjust the coloring on everything to make sure it's continuous from shot to shot, but also to have the desired effect and look, because you know what it looks like if there's a Western coming out of Mexico, a Western coming out of Arizona versus, I'm speaking to your genre, right? Or, something that is like sci-fi future, it's cooler tones. So all of that is going to change depending on where you are. What planet you're on in the Star Wars universe, those have different color tones. So a colorist, your score, sound, and then your special effects. And a special effect, here's a fun term. Special effects could be practical, meaning it was executed on camera, right? They put on fake blood, or like in makeup and like bruising, or was it something that they did digitally, virtually in the virtual effects? So that's, the whole thing is called special effects, but there's practical and then there's post.
Yeah, so that all happens post-production. So again, production's you're filming it, and then post-production, editing it, put it all together. I do not have the brain for editing. That, just even thinking about that gives me a headache. Because like when you're on set, like you're filming all day, right? So this, we filmed the pilot in 5 days, but we were filming nonstop. So there's hundreds and hundreds of hours of film to go through. So the editor has to sit there and watch the hundreds and hundreds of hours and then figure out which shot looks best for each scene. No, thank you. No, that does not interest me at all. It takes a special mind to be able to do that.
So you guys all know the slate, the action, and they have the slate. Well, the reason they do that is because if the camera is still going, it gives a visual cue as to like when something is starting and stopping, which take, and then each take or each scene has an indicator. I think it's a number, and then the takes within that scene has a letter. And so they write it on there, so then there'll be a note, because you have a storyboard of each scene that you're filming, and so the director might make a note like, oh man, scene 16, take H was like, I think that's the one. And so they'll give the editor notes, and then in the storyboard will have the scene number, so the editor already knows like what order to put all of these in, and then to first look at the takes that the cinematographer or the director commented or noted, and then from there you kind of start to play with it. So although it feels like just like a bunch of puzzle pieces, like there is a map there sort of for them to figure out.
And what's really cool too is if you get a good team around you, the project keeps on getting elevated at every turn. Like I thought I did a pretty good job with the script, right? I did the best job I could writing a script, but then it gets to the actors, and the actors get to interpret what you wrote, and they can elevate and make it better. And then it gets to the score, who's doing the music for you, and then they make it better. And then what Jen was saying with sound effects, right? Sound effects can make it better. It just gets better and better and better with a good team around you. So it's easy for me to brag about this project because I feel like I had very little to do. Like I wrote it, but what I wrote, it looks so much better now because it was such a collaborative effort where everybody came together. So we can kind of talk about selling it now.
Oh, I just want to make a note that a big difference from filmmaking to the books is your story, it's your characters, it's your voice, it's your tone. You approve the final cover, right? Well, unless you can publish, but you know what I mean? Like you had a say in it. There's no ego, or there shouldn't be, in the filmmaking process, especially when we're first starting out, because each of those people, those team members, and especially above the line, they are also artists, creators at their level, and so it is a collaborative process. And I think the more we come to grips with that and understand it, the better off we'll be in terms of our expectations in the process. I always say there's expectations and reality, and the gap between those two is disappointment. So curtail and taper your expectations so you can have a better experience. Okay.
Yeah, so we can talk about now, I think we have about 10 minutes left, so if anybody has questions, please feel free to ask your questions. If not, we can get to like the sales part. Is there a question back there?
You can actually run 10 to 15 minutes over.
Oh, perfect. Okay, thank you. Thank you for letting us know. Okay, so we have about 20 minutes
Good
left.
question.
Yes.
Did you form, if you covered this, I'm sorry. Did you form an LLC or a corporation for your production company?
We have an S Corp for our production company, and have changed that to like a media holding, so we did a DBA specifically for the production company. And I think that was important in terms of if you're going to be a producer on this, right? Because you could team up with someone who's already a producer, your director can take the role of producer, and you stay as a consultant and a screenwriter or story owner. So because of our experiences, our goals, and our skill sets, we went ahead and took more of a role into the production side of it. The documentation will hold one name accountable. So you have to get insurance, you have to get permits, you have to sign waivers for every location, especially with the COVID stuff. Like nobody's gonna work on set if you're not, as it was in California in 2022, I should state.
In January.
Yeah, in January of it keeps changing. In January of 2022, you have to like follow certain COVID protocols to be allowed to have so many people on set. So having the production company was nice as the protection for us personally.
And I want to encourage you, I know this sounds like a lot, but there is a very clear path of what to do. Just like,
An order?
yes, an order. Like, so if you're putting together a book, it's very clear that you write the book, and then you need to get it edited, and then you need to get it cover, and then it's formatting. So film, yes, there are more steps, but it is a step-by-step plan. Way more steps, but it's possible. It's possible. So you write the script, and then you get the funding in place, and then you start adding your team, and you put your team together. And now we can talk about kind of like what it looks like afterwards once it's done. Where do you go to sell it, and how do you get it picked up? So I am not going to name drop. Hopefully you get an idea of kind of who I am. I'm not going to throw out these names and be like, oh, look at me, look what we did, because I'm still kind of shocked too. And again, it's easy for me to brag about what we've done because I feel like it's very little me. I don't know if you've ever been in a project in your life where it kind of takes on a life of its own. It's like, this is happening, you're kind of just like along for the ride. That's what I kind of feel what happened with Infinity System. But since Infinity System got finished, we started going to different film festivals and entering. We've won first place in a couple different film festivals. In Utah, there's Film Quest. In Hermosa Beach, there was Sunscreen. We've been invited to come to other film festivals. When we started looking on how to sell this, we contacted an entertainment lawyer. And the entertainment lawyer asked, okay, well, this looks great, and we can pitch this just as a TV show and get it picked up. But what do you plan to do with the book series? So I told him, well, I have my own publishing company. I would just publish the books myself. So he said, well, hold on. He's like, let's talk to the agent first. Would you be willing to not publish the books yourself if we can get you a very large deal for it? And I was like, yeah, there might be a different conversation there. So he introduced us to an agent. And at that time, I'm not looking for a literary agent. I just published my own stuff. We were just looking for a film agent. But she does literary work and film work. So she watched it, and we had a couple different conversations with her, and she just signed us last month to be able to pitch now and sell it as a book series to a large publishing house. And then she said the way it's always worked, the way she's done it, is she pitches the book series and gets it picked up by like a HarperCollins or a Penguin Random House, and then the film deal comes from there too, from making a big splash in that world, and they get the film deal picked up.
So about that, what we have heard on numerous occasions is that right now, because of the risk involved in coming up with original content in terms of filmmaking, filmmakers and like financiers and investors feel more secure investing in projects that have an established IP.
That just means your books that you've already written.
So that means you have books, there's proof that you originated the ideas, that there's physical copies, there's a trail, there's all the digital evidence in your writing software, and you also have a proven concept if you have a readership base. They would be much more inclined to invest hundreds of thousands of dollars into something like that as opposed to some guy who comes with a script and has no experience, no evidence, no proof of concept. They're not saying everybody, but that is one of the things we keep hearing, which I feel is a little bit advantageous for everybody here at this conference. And I say hundreds of thousands, not like millions of dollars, because we're looking at starting just like, a lot of people started in publishing, a little bit lower budget and then breaking in, because you got to figure out what you want. And we're not necessarily going for the blockbusters. At the blockbuster level, to get the theater spots, you need to have a notable name, and that's maybe you're paying that performer millions of dollars. So that means if you pay them millions of dollars, you have to have multi-million dollars in your budget, which means you have to, for production, which is even more for marketing. But to start, get the film made, shop it, keep it independent, and you can have it distributed internationally, as well as on the many platforms that are already available domestically. 500,000 or less could get the job done.
Yeah, so that advice saying that streamers and producers are looking for IP, so intellectual property like your books that already exist, that was coming from Sony. So we went to one of the film festivals, and I'm an introvert, but I'm like, man, I'm here now, I need to extrovert my you-know-what off. So I was just like meeting everybody and talking to everybody that I could, and I was so exhausted. But I was talking to everybody, so I was the head of Sony who said that they'd much rather invest in IP that already exists and already has a following, and they mentioned books. And my eyes got wider and wider and wider because I have a lot of books. But that's good news for all of us. They're looking for content. Everybody wants content right now. And then what Jen was saying about, we started this as a pilot, and we went ahead and produced it with a $60,000 to $70,000, I would say, in production, and then maybe $10,000 for everything else that happened around it. And then now we're looking to do our next film. So we feel like Infinity System is in good hands. We have the agent, she has a plan, she has a great track record. We feel good with that. So we're like, okay, we're not really the type just to sit back and relax. Like, now that we did one, what are we going to do next? So like, what's the next hardest thing to do? So the next hardest thing to do is do a full-length movie. So we did a pilot that, for all intents and purposes, is doing well. It's getting picked up. So like, okay, let's do a movie. So now when we're talking about funding a movie, now we're talking about maybe $500,000 that we're going to need to do a full-length movie and do it well. So we're working our way up, to be like a Marvel or something like that has, millions and millions of
Maybe,
dollars.
something like that.
No, we'll get there.
Okay.
We'll get there. Yes.
We could hear you.
Okay, I was just wondering if others could. On the pilot, you keep talking 33 minutes. Now, I don't watch television because I live in the country on top of a mountain, I don't care.
Nice.
So why 33 minutes? I mean, other than the fact that we ran out of money, 33.
Oh, no, that's just what it worked out to be. So we estimated it between 25 to 35 minutes. We considered at the time some of the new shorter term streaming platforms or content. I think we mentioned The Mandalorian earlier, but
Cobra Kai. Yeah, Cobra Kai too, and
those
that's like 30,
episodes
45
between
minutes.
35 and 45 minutes. So by the time we, edited it, put all the stuff in there that needed to be in there, with the beats and the pauses and the B-roll and all of that, and then credits, intro and extra, because it's all like one screen time. You're not only looking at just like when the performers are on camera. It came out to be about 33 minutes. So that's how we got to that number.
Oh, sorry, I guess
because
we
of
do
that,
need to-
sorry, okay.
Sorry.
We tried with you.
All right, so the 33 minutes includes all the front and back matter, is what you're saying?
Yes.
And
Yeah.
the streaming organizations accept things for 30 to 35 or 40 minutes?
So I think I know what you're getting at. So when you film a pilot, the pilot that we filmed is a proof of concept. Once it gets picked up, it's going to be reshot. Hopefully, Tom Cruise in the main role. Probably
Maybe
not.
One,
But
of, one of the
yes.
Chris's. One of the Chris's.
Yes, we'll take any of the Chris's. But we're looking this to be a proof of concept. So this is a proof of concept. I don't know if anybody here has watched Game of Thrones. Okay, so episode 1 of Game of Thrones is not the episode 1 that we got to see. They filmed a pilot episode as a proof of concept, and then they sold it, and then they went ahead and reshot it with a much bigger budget, with new peoples. So you're just trying to sell the idea with your pilot.
Yeah, and I think that's a good thing that just reminded me that the pilot is just, the proof of concept, so they could take your idea, pay you for it. Thank you, sir, have a wonderful life. Thank you, ma'am, enjoy your days. And that's the last you're going to be involved in it. They've got your idea, and then they may never do anything with it again. We've heard just last night, we were talking to someone who has spent the last few years writing and selling scripts, screenwriting, and not one has ever been put into production. So studios and different people may buy concepts, they may buy your story, the rights to your story, they may buy your script and it never go into production. They have teams out there who's told to just buy all this up, and then the day comes when they're at the big long table in their mahogany rooms and saying like, okay, well, what we need is a Western. We need a good, gritty Western like the classics, but it has to be new, but it also has to attract this audience. And someone will be like, ooh, I bought that up 5 years ago. I think I have a few things. They're going to go through their list and be like, hey, Jeannie, give me that file. And they'll find it, and they may take that out and then use it. So there's so many different ways to have your stories created, to have your stories picked up, to have your stories made as a pilot purchase. They might purchase your rights and completely change the way they're going to execute it. So that's part of the reason we chose to go ahead and start executing our content. We felt equipped, but if someone just wants to tell their story, that's also another potential avenue.
Yes, please, go ahead.
So I'm sorry, I'm very nosy, and you can say if you're not comfortable. So you're talking about proof of concept and investing basically $60,000, $70,000. What's the potential return on that for you as the author or the screenwriter? Any investors? I'm really interested in how the money works out.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and take that. So I'm getting to enjoy a very thick and detailed, basically textbook called Movie Money. It talks about how complicated that could be. So for our proof of concept, we are not at the point where we're going to, there was a Kickstarter, the crowdfunding portion that was an investment, and they got their good stuff and their items from the Kickstarter, and then they're the investors who are going to get residuals on what we sell. And it really varies. If someone's going to buy it just to own the IP, are they going to buy it and turn it into a feature? Are they going to buy it and make it into a low-budget streamer that they're going to put on Tubi? Or are they trying to put it on, Amazon wants to pick it up and put it on Amazon Prime. Now that the Expanse and Altered Carbon and all that is done, they need their next hot sci-fi item. It varies. And so we worked off of percentages, and percentages are on defined terms. So it's not cut and dry with profit and gross and net and all of that stuff. It's on defined terms and percentages on the back end. Is that kind of what you were hoping?
I was looking for numbers, like how much do you think you might make?
We really don't know. So, and we were talking with someone earlier, you don't play with your own money on this, the money that you need for your family. We made the conscious decision of like, this is what we have available that we could invest, and if nothing, we get a killer experience out of this. But being the optimistic hopefuls that we are, we just want to get our money back. So if we get 10,000 back, awesome. If we don't, so be it. We've learned a lot. Hey, it's been fun. Grab a poster.
So when you're looking at your script, this is during the pre-production, or and you're figuring out your budget. You said 3 minutes per one page of script, right? How do you figure out the budget? I know it would depend on if you're doing sci-fi or if you're doing like a Hallmark style movie.
Yeah.
Is there maybe a resource or some kind of book where you can kind of figure out and sort of ballpark figure out what your budget's going to be per page?
I think there is a number, and I cannot recall what it is. So I will, if you message me, I will go back through my search history sort of, and then send that out, or I can comment on the video that this is playing in the group. Because right now I look at it as a line item. So I would say I need a film crew for 5 full days, local. So I need to figure out if I'm paying my cinematographer $3,000 a day, and then with his crew of 8, that's another $3,000 to $6,000. So I've got $9,000 a day just for filming. So I put that there, and then you kind of figure out of a performer, what's my budget level? Okay, if I can pay them $200 a day, if I can pay them $500 a day, okay, figure I need this person for this many days. So that's how I backed into it. But there may be some ranges, and then there are tons of articles and some really great YouTube specialists who are talking about like filmmaking, and they'll talk about percentages, like 50%. If you're going to get a recognizable name, 50% of your budget is going to be above the line. So a screenwriter gets 3%, a producer gets 4% of the total budget. So that's kind of how it works.
Do you like Excel spreadsheets?
Not particularly.
Oh, okay. We were given an Excel spreadsheet from somebody who works at Amazon, for Amazon Studios. Is that where she works?
I'd take it. I would.
Yeah, they don't work. Yeah, they are associated with Amazon's accounting.
Yeah, so what she's talking about is there is a Excel spreadsheet that you can start plugging in these numbers. So you would like look at your scene, right? 1 page of script is 1 minute of film. So you could look at your script and be like, okay, so for this scene, I'm going to need this actor. The film crew, of course, has to be there. Hair and makeup is going to have to be there. And then you can plug those numbers into the Excel spreadsheet, and it'll tell you how much you need per day.
I would like to see that.
Yeah, contact us. Grab our card before you leave, and we'll send it to you. Yeah, no problem. Hi.
I've been through the process. I'm from Alaska. I've been through the process, and we had our film tax incentive up there. So I had I worked on several Hollywood movies as an extra, and then from that, we did a local production, which I was executive producer along with 5 other people.
Oh, that's awesome.
So we've been through the whole process of what that is. Bowfinger, we lived Bowfinger. If you're familiar with that movie, okay. So we made it on a nothing budget. Me now as a novelist, I love what you're doing, and you took charge and did it yourself. But I'm kind of like trying to do the unicorn thing now. And so I joined Stage 32, and I've been pitching to Amazon and Netflix and such like that. Now, you mentioned film festivals. So I'm wondering, I did enter a screenplay in a film festival in LA, and I got 4th place on an indie one.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you. So what I'm trying to figure out moving forward, because I have to save time for writing, too. So what I'm trying to figure out is my time spent better entering the film festivals, or should I continue pitching at stage 32, because somebody else told me I'm wasting my time there? I'm kind of like, trying to figure out which avenue, because I am determined to get series on film.
Yeah, so I can't speak to film, was it Film 32? Stage 32?
Stage, yeah.
Because I've never done that, but I can speak to film festivals. We've met so many people at film festivals, from like the writers of National Treasure to Bad Boys 2. They're the same writing team. It's a husband and wife team who do that writing. We've met the Marvel executive, what's his name? Mitch Bell?
But it's about, like, they're not going to be there, and the festival itself isn't going to take your screenplay and then run it over to the back lot and get it made. Like, it's a lot of people who are giving back to the community, and there may be a moment, so it seems like you'd be increasing your odds, but it seems like you should be spending that time perhaps querying an agent who has the relationships already to go and sell your story at the American Film Festival in Santa Monica. There are like 4 films. There's one in Toronto, there's one attached to Cannes, there's the Santa Monica one, and another international. So your agent can go and meet directly with the people who would be buying and producing it if you wanted to kind of figure out where to get the most bang for your buck for your time.
Okay, so it's like, anything else, networking, and so get to the film festivals and get to know the people and start networking. Okay.
Yeah, like I've always known it's about who you know, not what you know, and it's just like a constant reminder now that we're in film, it's all about who you know.
Oh, can I give him a hack?
Sure.
Okay, so one of the things that we heard that was really cool, because there's like Tribeca and there's the Austin Film Festival, et cetera, you don't have to be entered, and you may not have to buy a ticket, because someone can say, I can't buy all the entries to these, right? But you could hang out just like anyone out here. If they're hanging out in these 5 restaurants that are here, you're going to see the people with the Tribeca lanyards, and you can make connections, and you can create meetings that, if people are going to be there, you can be like, hey, let's grab some spaghetti and meatballs over here and have a conversation, and we'll make it a group thing to be more worthwhile to your time. And that's where like the deeper conversations are happening anyway.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
So
thank you for
welcome.
coming.
Thank you.
And I have a question that's sort of related to my other question about finding a director. So I know, like you said, you looked at the scripts online, you sort of taught yourself how to write a script. My script would be coming from a book that is already written, and I feel like my brain cannot parse the stuff out that should be in a script versus not be in a script. So do you have any recommendations for where to find a script writer possibly who could do that?
Same.
I'm in the same process. I know what you're doing. For our next project that we haven't talked about a whole lot, we're running out of time, but our next project, I'm doing a book that I wrote called Hunters for Hire, and then turning that into a script. So I know what you mean. It's a much different process. When I can write a script and I can just go, my imagination just flows and the script is done. But when I have a book that I have to read on one side of the screen and then a script that I have to read on the other side of the screen, translate it, that could be more difficult. Yes, did you have something?
I'm just going to address that.
Oh. Okay.
All right, and this will be the last one. We have to end after this.
Okay. If you're trying to find a screenwriter, I'd recommend looking at any film school. Looking for
Oh, that's a good
somebody who's
idea.
graduating. Just post something saying, looking for a script writer. You have to pay them. You may have to pay the Writers Guild of America fees, but you'll get somebody who knows what they're doing. But make sure that they've got that experience of translating from book to screen.
That's a great
Yeah.
idea. Thank you for sharing.
And then you could also obviously go back and take a pass. Once they get it there in the format, you would look at it and be able to tell like what you needed to hone in for the right story arc, cut anything, and enhance for your characters.
I'll make this one real quick. I don't know if I missed it with the fire alarm and everything. I heard you say you put up $10,000 of your own money. Did you do a Kickstarter? How
Yes,
did you do?
Kickstarter.
What did you do to get your investors? How did you do that?
Kickstarter.
Kickstarter.
That was it?
On Kickstarter, and then we put up 10 of our own.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no
Thank
problem.
you. All right.
Thanks,
Good luck, all of
everybody.
you.
Thank
Can't wait to
you.
watch your movies.